Mike Tomlin yesterday did speak to the media and confirmed, as everybody knew, that Aaron Rodgers visited the Steelers now 10 days ago. No deadline whatsoever, according to Tomlin, on a decision from Rodgers. So this wait that's been happening for 3 weeks now, it's going to continue. And I think we've all kind of accepted it. I don't think anybody really likes it. I don't think anybody really understands it. But we just have to deal with it. The wait will continue with no end in sight.
No, and I know we joked about this a lot last week, right? And we had our little argument maybe at the start of last week too. This is the position the Pittsburgh Steelers have put themselves in. They did not properly plan and figure out what their future was at the quarterback position. I don't know if they kind of took it for granted that they thought they were going to get Justin Fields back no matter what, and there just wasn't any pressure there. But they're in a spot now. And the only guy that can take them where they want to go ultimately is Aaron Rodgers. That's out there, that's available to help their team. So they got to sit back and wait for him. And then with Aaron Rodgers, I think it's, so now, yeah, it's not an easy decision. And I think the thing that is interesting to me, Mike, is yes, Rodgers has all the power here. The Steelers are desperate. And the fact that it sounds like retirement has become a little bit more of an option for Aaron Rodgers, and I've been hearing that word surrounding him a little bit more. I think those two things alone are pretty surprising to me here over the weekend.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second because the retirement stuff is seemingly growing as a possibility. And I just think that when you combine delay and silence, all sorts of possibilities are going to be considered because Rodgers has said nothing about what he's planning to do. Rodgers prides himself on the fact that he tells very few people what he's thinking. So in that vacuum arises whatever else might be and whatever talk might be out there. And it's really narrowed down at this point to the Steelers, the Vikings, if J.J. McCarthy somehow face plants in the offseason program or in the early days of training camp, because in theory this could run all the way into August. Remember, Brett Favre didn't sign with the Vikings until the middle of August, August 18 in 2009. Or retirement, or wait and see if a quarterback gets injured elsewhere. That is also on the table. That's something I always thought Favre would do, a half season, a Roger Clemens-style half season with a team at the right time, make the right move. And I could see Rodgers just waiting and seeing if that opportunity would arise with, one of the teams that is a shortlist Super Bowl contender, if that team would want him, if that team has a serious injury to a quarterback. But that would entail basically retirement and then an end to the retirement at some point in October or November.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know. We could see where that goes. But as we sit here right now, I just feel like, hey, he's in a spot. And with Minnesota, I don't think you can sit there realistically and think or hope that, J.J. McCarthy might fall apart during OTAs. I'd be shocked by that. I think you would be too. Anybody that knows anything about J.J. McCarthy, right? He's got some talent. We've talked about that. He's smart. He's got good football pedigree. Wow, I mean, I would be shocked to hear, he's going through OTAs where they usually set it up for the offense to have success and look good and all that he falls apart to the point to where they revisit the Rodgers situation. That to me would be pretty jaw-dropping if that did happen. And that's where it does feel like Steelers are bust here. And I guess it's more about Rodgers just wanting or trying to feel comfortable about whether he still wants to play and if he feels like he can go to Pittsburgh, right, and end on a positive note if this is the last year or the last 2 years. I think that's got to be the big thing. I think he's got to be a little worried about, I go to Pittsburgh and it's egg on my face again, and we don't make the playoffs, and they've been making the playoffs with all these Jimmies and Johnnies that aren't worth the damn at quarterback and all this stuff the last few years, and we don't get in with me, then that ain't going to look good, on top of the end of my Jets career on top of that. And I would got to think he's got to be very picky and choosy because of that element.
That really would be something. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing record in his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers dating back to 2007. If he would finally have a losing season in the first season with Aaron Rodgers, that would be tough to erase from the Rodgers career resume. And I think that's one of the reasons to be very selective and maybe to wait and see what happens in Minnesota. Because you could make the argument that if he would plug into the Minnesota offense, he'd be more likely with that team, with what they did last year. But, you know, there's also a risk there, too.
Yeah.
Because they were 14-3 last year with Sam Darnold.
That's
so
right.
Here comes Aaron Rodgers. Anything less than that in comparison to Sam Darnold gets regarded by some as a failure. I just think that if he truly wants to keep playing, he needs to forget about the way things could go poorly.
I know.
And the way the narrative of his career could be undermined, and just go do it.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking that much, if you're worried that much about what this is going to do to your legacy, maybe you should retire, if that really is part of the thought process.
Right.
That what if I do this and what if this happens? What if I do this and what if that happens? And maybe you should just not do anything.
Yeah, I hear you there. And, you know, Aaron Rodgers in his prime, he could overcome anything. I don't care. Go start here, start there. I'm awesome. I'll make it happen. I think, you know, now he knows from what he's had to deal with the Jets, his injury status, his age, all of that. He needs help. He needs a support system to a degree. This ain't like 2014 where he can just carry the team on his back no matter what. So that's where I think he's probably trying to be picky too. He's evaluating this roster. Do I think I can have some success here? Is my body really ready to handle another year of getting hit and playing through injury? And I know he did last year. I continue to hear that even from people that were with the Jets. That was the one thing that I think impressed people. He was tough at the end of the season dealing with some stuff there. But there's that, Mike. But I think the other stuff is real. You're like, you want to play? Yeah, I want to play. But, hey, you're going to play in the AFC North, and it's your last year of your career, maybe. And damn, you know, Joe Burrow spanking Aaron Rodgers twice. Oh, look at Joe Burrow. Man, Lamar Jackson, man, Aaron Rodgers is done. Lamar Jackson's wiping the floor with Aaron Rodgers. So is Joe Burrow. Geez, it just, you know, there's some things that could go negative there too. And I think, as we both know, we know Rodgers. I think he thinks of all that type of stuff. And I think that's where it's a risky play to go to Pittsburgh in that division right now in the AFC and everything that goes around it and who they'll have to deal with. And it affects his status and aura, I think, overall. And I wouldn't be shocked if he is thinking about those things, Mike.
Well, and, you know, to get back to the Minnesota point, we were talking about this last night. Like, why in the world does he want to continue the Brett Favre track? Even if he thinks there's a way to get to the playoffs and maybe win a playoff game or two, it puts him squarely on the Brett Favre career arc. And at some point, I got to be my own guy. I got to go in my own direction. I got to do my own thing. I just think he's got a lot that he's got to sift through. And I understand why he's taking his time, because once you pick the door, all the other ones close. And you might regret that you chose the one that you did, because intervening events might cause you to regret doing what you did. And that's why I keep coming back to just waiting and seeing what happens. See how the season plays out. See how training camp plays out. See how everything goes. You never know where that chance is going to come, where someone is going to need a quarterback and they're going to pull the ripcord on Aaron Rodgers, and he walks into a situation where, yeah, hey, they're already winning, and here he comes, and, you know, what happened, Aaron Rodgers? Well, you know, he came in to save the day, and if it didn't work out, well, so be it, but he had an opportunity, and he took it. And I just feel like that might be what he's ultimately going to do. Just wait and see how things play out, because he hasn't jumped on board a team yet. If you don't do it by early April, maybe you are just going to wait and see how it goes, or maybe you are just done. And I don't know when you're going to announce it if you are done, but maybe that's it. And let's play the sound from Max Crosby. Here he is, because he campaigned heavily, Chris, for Aaron Rodgers to come to the Raiders, and the Raiders had zero interest in Aaron Rodgers. Here's Crosby on what he thinks Rodgers is going to do.
The fact that I think that he's not with Devontae and he's not very familiar with Pittsburgh, I don't know. I feel like he retires. He's about 42 now. I would like that. I feel like that makes sense, him going to the Steelers, and I think they need a quarterback. They need a guy who's a vet, proven dude. But I don't know. I just don't see that as a thing. I can't see him in a Pittsburgh uniform. I don't know. My brain can't put that together.
You know, it's funny. I remember not being able to accept seeing Tom Brady in a Buccaneers uniform.
Yeah, right.
And we ultimately saw it, and we dealt with it. Our brains changed, even though it still took a couple of years to accept Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady. I can get behind the idea of Rodgers in a Steelers uniform, But until he takes the job, it's hard to patch the two up. And yes, he spent 6 hours there, but it still hasn't happened. And the Steelers, it feels like it's not really in keeping with the Steelers' tradition to sit and wait indefinitely for Aaron Rodgers to make up his mind. That's what still bothers the fans. We've talked about that a lot. The idea that the fans look at this and say, this isn't how we do things in Pittsburgh. We don't chase anybody. We don't beg anybody. We don't take other teams' scraps. We don't take a New York Jets reject as our starting quarterback. And the longer that it lasts, I think the more that sense sets like concrete. And you're going to get to a point where it might be hard to sell it to anyone if we have more weeks that go by. If we get to May, if we get to June, and it hasn't happened yet. Apparently, at one point yesterday, Tomlin said the line of demarcation is training camp. I don't think you can have silence and then all of a sudden July rolls around and boom, he shows up in Latrobe at St. Vincent's College as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be hard to sell to the fans if it takes that long.
Yeah, I hear you. They're going to deal with some pushback, but they're stuck. They're in a spot here. And they are basically telling you there is nobody out there worth a damn that we really want to bring in to be the starting quarterback. Nobody. And I think that's the interesting thing here is, yes, they're willing to wait for Aaron Rodgers and probably have some comfort of like, hey, Mason Rudolph, he knows it here. We know we can play and be competitive with him. I understand that. But also, I would think within that and everything that's telling us this here so far is that the Steelers are going to draft a quarterback somewhere in the draft, I would think. I mean, they're not just going to go to camp with what it is as right now, status quo. So I would think, yeah, Mason Rudolph, somebody else gets drafted maybe in the first 3-4 rounds of the draft that they feel like they, can have some potential to maybe be something one day. And then then they start to, wait, we need to look at a Joe Flacco or another veteran that's out there that maybe can play, help us out, whatever it may be. But as they're telling you right now, yeah, they're willing to wait for Aaron Rodgers because they know that he's clearly the best option and the only guy that can maybe get them over the hump to where they want and winning a playoff game or two in the AFC.
And maybe this vague possibility that Rodgers will join them down the road gives them the cover that they'll need to draft the quarterback they want. I don't know that it makes a difference. I think that if you're one of the teams behind Pittsburgh and you're eyeing a quarterback that you think the Steelers might want, you're probably going to make the bet that they would take him, and you're going to try to cut the line in front of them, which hurts the Steelers' cause. If they got lucky in 2022, Kenny Pickett fell into their laps, and they didn't have to trade up to get him. I think they might have to worry about getting jumped round 1, round 2, round 3, whoever it is they might be targeting at the quarterback position, if that's their plan, to partner a rookie with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson, the two quarterbacks currently on the roster. It just is going to be, I think, hard for them to pull off whatever they're planning without maybe trading up if the goal is to get a quarterback in the draft. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.